So the first topic, I don't even know if it's oh well, here's I got the wrong one, but this was from an hour ago. Obama accused of converting to Judaism to obtain lasers. Although the Georgia Republican did not indicate what Obama might use his lasers for. And it's referring to here she is. Let's make
Could I have my water bottle?
Excuse me. All right. Now I gotta let's do, sharing is never easy. Share there.
I mean, did this woman ever hear of lightning? Did that ever occur to her?
I don't know what she thinks. And, I'll read it to you. Marjorie Taylor Greene's space laser and the age-old problem of blaming the Jews. And of course she tweeted, which is another type of virus, that let's get this out of the way. First term Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's claim that the 2018 California fires were ignited by a space laser controlled by a corporate cabal, including the Rothschild banking firm. So, how she, managed, she wrapped it up, and it's all over the internet. People making fun of it. People saying, I can't get on Zoom. How could I get a space laser? Andy Borowitz has been very, very funny about it. But my question to you for the discussion is it funny? I don't know that it's funny.
It's so outrageous. It's so outrageous. And that's humor can, I don't know. Is it funny?
Yeah.
It's certainly not funny. It's outrageous.
Right. It's absolute. Yes, it's outrageous. And, do you think that,
so is storming the Congress, the Capitol.
Yes.
A lot of people, that for sure believing that, and that's the scariest part of it.
Right. And that is very, very, very scary.
To me, the scariest part is that all these people, Republicans in the Senate and the Congress, they know better. They know this is crazy. Right. And yet there are so many of them, the majority of them are still sticking up for her. And that is really frightening. Right. Because I mean, all the things that this woman has spouted are so off the wall.
Yeah. And this is the Camp Auschwitz dude.
And I don't think, you know what? I don't think people say she's crazy. I don't think she's crazy. I think she's mean. I think she's a miserable, horrible person. And the fact that they can defend her makes them all just as mean and horrible.
Yeah. Paula.
I agree. I think that, and I'm not the first person to say this, the Republicans are at a crossroads. They're going to have to decide which way this party is going to go, with truth or with these conspiracy theories and untruths. And unfortunately, it looks like the Marjorie Greenes are outweighing the Adam Kinzingers and the Mitt Romneys. And who would ever think that Cheney would be a heroine?
Right. Or this Adam Kinzinger, because I don't exactly know where he stands on things, but he's a Republican. I can't imagine.
He's pretty conservative.
Yeah. Hi, Diane.
He has a conscience.
Diane, I'm going to mute you because we can hear you.
Well, he wants to run for president, but he's totally against women's reproductive rights. I mean, I wouldn't vote for him at all. He's so conservative. And so I see him coming out all the time, but he was one that wanted to challenge Trump, and that was never going to work. And what he wants to do is be president. That's why he's going on every talk show in the world. But I definitely do not, ascribe to any of his policies.
Yeah. But he seems, next to this Marjorie,
he's moral.
Yeah. That is what is scary, that these people, and Susan, I think you're right, that she's mean, she's she believes all these different things. You know, I wonder about her base intelligence. And I was talking to somebody yesterday, and we were talking about an older, a friend of his, and a Jewish guy, and he said, well, he voted for Trump. I said, and I know this person. I was like, what? And the other person explaining it said, you know, Trump's message is easy to understand. You know, we used to, when Trump was first elected, my husband and I would say, do you think he speaks at a 5th grade level because he, you know, he can't, now I doubt, I don't know if he could speak above a 5th grade level, but when you speak that simply, then people can understand you. Blair, what were you going to say? Blair? Oh, I thought you. So that's what worries me, that we're laughing at this, but maybe, you know, we should be saying you shouldn't laugh at this. And I do have a video. Let's see if I can get it up open.
What is that old expression, from pathos comes humor? So
yes. So this is a group, and it's called The Jews Are Coming. They're Israeli. There'll be it's in Hebrew, but there's subtitles.
Thank goodness.
So this is the elders of the protocol of Zion.
בעזרת הלוואות בריבית דריבית, וברווחים אנחנו נקנה את הנשיא, ואחרי שנשתלט על אמריקה אנחנו נשלח זרועות בכל הגלובוס כמו איזה נו ברח לי, נו איך קוראים לחיה הזאת? אז חיה הזאת איך קוראים לה שיש לה זרועות? מרבה רגליים? לא, איזה מרבה רגליים. חסר לך שאתה רושם בפרוטוקול עם מרבה רגליים. אתה לא רשמתי. אני יודע. תמנון, בדיוק. אנחנו נשתלט על העולם כמו איזה תמנון. אני לא יודע, גולדברג. יש לך בעיה עם זה? יש כמה. קודם כל, כן. איך הוא ינשום? מי? התמנון. אני לא ביולוג, אבל אני חושב שהוא צריך מים בשביל לנשום. אם הוא מחזיק ככה את הכדור הארץ, אתה רואה? איך הוא ינשום? זה רק דימוי, צוקרמן. בשבילך זה דימוי. בשבילו זה מלכודת מוות. אתה שולח תמנון ענק ותמים למלכודת מוות בחלל. אתה מדבר ברצינות עכשיו? אתה יודע איזה כותרות זה יעשה? יהודים רצחו תמנון ענק בחלל. צוקרמן, אנחנו מתכננים להשתלט על העולם. זה לא נראה לך כותרת קצת יותר מטרידה? הרבה יותר. כן, כן, אולי אתה צודק, כן. אנשים באמת ייקחו יותר קשה את ההשתלטות על העולם. בסדר, אז לגבי התמנונים אני לא בטוח. זה רק דימוי, צוקרמן! בשבילך זה דימוי! בשבילם זה סיבה למלחמה כוללת! הם יעשו לנו שטפי דם עם מכריות הצמדה, ויש להם גם דיו, זה כתמים בכל מקום. ואתה יודע שיש להם גם מקור? זה חתיכת מפלצת החיה הזאת, לא סתם בחרת בה בתור דימוי. אז אתה מודה שזה דימוי. שוין, אז אין לנו מלחמה עם המין התמנוני? אנחנו יכולים להמשיך במזימה שלנו? שוין! אוי, ברוך השם, אפשר להמשיך במזימה שלנו? אוי! לא ימשיך.
אוקיי. Next week I have another one to share with you on forum, but
send us that link because that's hysterical.
yeah, they are, oh no, wait here. Pause. Yes, I'll get it and put it in the put it in the chat. But And they the one for Purim is also there, and they have one on the 10 Commandments, and I'll show you some more, but and they're laughing at ourselves. But the thing that I worry about, and Malcolm Gladwell had a podcast, and he talked about satire.
Right.
And that, remember when Stephen Colbert, and he played the right-wing guy?
Yeah, for
When
conservative.
right-wing conservative people listened to it, they believed him.
Right.
Yeah.
They thought he was just talking the truth. So when you do funny things like
Gotta be very careful.
The,
Oh, sure.
yes,
Gotta be
when
very
you were
careful.
showing that, Vanessa,
Well,
yeah,
And-
wait, Susan and then Paula.
when you were showing that and people were laughing, I have to tell you,
And
there
find
must
it.
be something wrong with me because I didn't think it was funny.
Right,
I thought it was dangerous
right,
because of the people that will see something like that.
right.
And
Exactly.
absolutely true.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we should be making fun of ourselves in that way
Right,
because the enemy uses it as ammunition.
right.
And I think that's very frightening.
Right.
it is. It
And
is.
and that's Paula, go ahead.
I was just saying, I mean, we have dumbed down so much and the bar is so low for the intellectual and critical thinking of so many people that you're absolutely right, Susan.
Mhm.
At first, I didn't know if it was a serious propaganda pitch, or if it was a satire.
Right.
You
It
know,
doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter what it was.
Right,
It shouldn't be
Yeah.
done
right,
because of the people that are going to get their hands on it and believe it.
yeah.
Right.
And that, I mean, it's a shame we have to live that way,
right,
but that's what we've come to.
right.
Yes. And I should have looked. I don't know if the ADL or anyone took out after this, what's her name? The
Marcia.
yeah, Marjorie. And I know that they're calling. I did see that Brad Schneider put up something on Facebook 10 minutes ago. She's on the education committee.
Yeah.
And we thought Betsy DeVos was bad.
Oh my God.
Yes, we still do.
Yes, we still do. We still do. But it's like, and Andy Borowitz also said something about, Sarah Palin, that I don't, we wish, she were back. I don't wish she were back.
Oh,
But
no.
and I disagreed with Sarah Palin and George Bush, but in 2021, they look, I don't want to say, they look at least rational. These people are not rational. I don't
No.
know how to, and how do you deal with it? And Kevin McCarthy, that, he's the minority now, he met with her, but I don't think anything happened. I don't think, and who said, not, they're afraid to say anything. And he went to go meet with Trump down at Mar-a-Lago.
They're looking at their 2-year elections. They're looking at their elections.
Yeah, but isn't there a way within the party that they can censor her, or what did I hear about that? I mean, it's doing their party such harm. Isn't there a way of silencing or firing her in that respect?
Yes. I mean, because they took, what's his name?
Steve King. Yeah.
They took him off of all of his committees.
And then he lost his election.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, Marcia, go ahead.
Yeah, they said that in the Georgia elections, she's been known about for a long time. She was on the radar and she was campaigning with all of this crazy stuff, and she won in November. I think that her primary competitor, or the Democratic competitor, dropped out because he said no way a Democrat could win, that even a crazy Republican is going to win over, a normal Democrat. And then she won. But then after that, and with all of the hype about how the election was stolen and everything, in that deep red district where she won, the electorate went down. or they stayed home or something. And that's how the Democrats didn't win that deep red district, but they didn't have so many Republicans against them. And they said that McConnell realized that that she and Trump helped, lose the Senate for him. And so, he made that statement about Marjorie Green, Taylor Greene. They said he's not. It's not that he's so moral all of a sudden. It's that to him, any power and donors, power and money is all he cares about. So he's thinking 2022, and he will do or say anything to get it back and everything back in 2022. That's one opinion, but from the way he's operated since the Obama era, I believe that. I don't think he cares anything about the American people. I think he cares about his own. I think he cares about his own power. Just the fact that he's been clinging to it, even though he's now the minority leader, he's not. It took forever to give it back to Schumer and the Democratic committee chairs. So I don't trust him at all.
No. I do find it, Paula, go ahead.
Oh, I don't know if any of you watched the ceremony this morning of the Capitol policeman who was killed.
Heartbreaking. I did.
Yes.
Did you watch a little of that?
And there was one last night also.
Yes. And what I saw was a, bipartisan group of people try to pay their respects. And it did look at times that people were very introspective and moved very deeply, again, by what that death represented. And you just wonder, as they're filing past this, I think it was his, cremains, obviously, he's been.
Yes. Because when I told Arthur last night, I said, hey, look at this. He goes, wait a minute, he's been dead, a month. And I said, well, obviously he wasn't Jewish. But then when I saw it, I said, oh, he was cremated.
Yeah, he was cremated. And I thought to myself, are there flashbacks coming back now to any of these men and women as they're filing past these remains? Is it having any impact? Do they already forget? Is there nothing they can pull from within themselves to do the right thing and speak out? And I don't know what it's going to take. And then I heard that there were 2 more officers who have committed suicide since then.
Yes, I read that last week and I was confused.
I was astounded by that.
Why do you think they committed suicide? Because they let people in, they were on the inside, they were ashamed of their conduct?
All of the above, and maybe, because I don't think we know that yet.
Right.
And they said 60 were wounded, including one that's going to probably lose an eye. But, I have to say that I said in the beginning, Trump supporters are okay with racism. They're okay with white supremacy. They're okay with the caging of children. They're okay now with treason, with insurrection, with sedition, and now they're okay with murder.
Right.
To me, Trump is guilty of that man's murder. I mean, I was heartbroken this morning. I'm like, is there no end to this?
I don't know. We're definitely at the lowest point in our national history of modern memory.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing that one thing, when we first got on and welcome Evie and everybody, Meryl came on, we were talking about getting the vaccine and playing the system and trying to find the vaccine. And, if Trump had just said to wear a mask, how many tens of thousands of people would be right. And here I also wanted to share with you, it's a problem in Israel. So these ultra orthodox unrest threatens Netanyahu's re-election hopes. The election is in March, so it's about a month away. But you can see in the picture, they're not wearing masks.
Yes. Yeah.
And when did this become,
Okay.
it's science. it's not political. And this week, two very big rabbis died. Rabbi Twersky. Oh no, I forgot the other one's name. And they had these funerals. Let me see if I have a picture of that. I'll get you a picture of it, with thousands of people, thousands of people. And it was this week. And this is from January 28th, but things are going well in Israel. They're almost, they have almost vaccinated everybody. But these Haredi, are driving, they're still, 8,000 cases yesterday. And that's like not in the city of Chicago, but kind of, like in, maybe, the state of New Jersey, whatever. It's in a small area. So I don't understand that. I don't understand that. I think about how to be compassionate. And what if somebody, came on to this and was like, I voted for Trump, and, what would we say to them? How can we explain this to them?
I think, I said this, I think in another meeting that we had, my one issue is women's rights. I think some people voted because theirs is right, they are pro-life and they are able to look at the other issues. I don't know how, I couldn't. But you make a choice between what lines up best with your values.
Right.
And I don't see anything in Trumpism. The old Republican Party, there were certainly things I could understand, but not the party of Trump. The kids in cages would have done it for me if he had done nothing else.
I agree.
Besides that, the kids in cages separated from their families, that would have been the deal breaker. But we said that about every single thing he did.
I know. Yeah,
Well,
but
that'll be it.
no,
Well, now that's the end.
Trump
as far as like
he's
the
a
pro-life,
He
the
is a
thing is,
genius.
Wait. I'm Susan
sorry.
and then Marcia. Susan, go ahead.
Trump is I know we all think that he's really dumb.
He's
but
not.
He
He's
is a genius at manipulation.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
He absolutely has a way. He's done it his entire life.
Yeah.
His whole life. He has lied. He has cheated. He has attacked people, and he's always gotten away with it.
Yeah.
He doesn't pay his bill. How he gets any of these lawyers to no matter who they are. My son-in-law, who is staying with me now and is a lawyer, he said the only way, he'd never worked for Trump. He finds him appalling. But he said the only way I'd work for anybody like that, I'd have to be paid up front before I did one thing. And I'd have to make sure the check didn't bounce. He said, I don't know how anybody, because we know people who have been stiffed by Trump.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, go ahead and sue me, because he knows that to sue him would cost them more than what he owes them.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's his whole modus operandi is cheat.
Okay, Marcia and then Blair.
Yeah.
Marcia Rosenbaum, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to pick on something Sue said. It's true. And someone said that, a lot of the disaffected were looking for a charismatic thing. I don't understand it either, because I think he is like the least appealing president we've ever had. All he gets up there, he mocks, he scowls, he jeers. But what I wanted to say, to take up on what Paula said about the pro-life, to me, it's always been that first of all, who's not for life, but it's a matter of a woman's reproductive rights. It's and it should be it shouldn't be in the political arena. It should be between a woman and her doctor and her own, her own ability to deal with with what's going on in her body. It shouldn't be for a bunch of lawmakers to decide what a woman should do with her own body. So that's why I've never understood that that's a one issue. But I guess people who, for that's a one issue, they'll vote for a crook and a cheat and a cruel, incompetent fool, like Trump. I guess to me, I don't understand it, but that's some people.
Yeah. All right, Paula, then Susan, then Blair.
Okay, real quickly. When I was a student nurse, I attended the birth of a 10-year-old that had been raped.
Oh,
And there was no abortion allowed here in Illinois. And that was my changing moment about that issue, because I was very young. I was not 20 years old yet. And I didn't understand abortion very well and what makes a person come to that choice. During my nursing career, I learned that nobody comes to that decision very easily. And for most women, it's an agonizing decision. This child was made to give birth to this baby. And like I say, that's just, everybody has their own stance on it, but that was what changed my attitude completely.
Wow, what a
Wow.
story.
It was
Susan,
really-
and then Merle.
so one of the
And then
things,
Blair.
all these people that call themselves pro-life and where this is their number one issue, first of all, if they were really pro-life, they would care about life after it's out of the womb.
That's right.
And certainly they're not showing with their gun issues and everything else, they're not showing any respect for a living human being. And the other thing is, when they vote and they don't like Planned Parenthood, for instance, and they vote to defund Planned Parenthood, and they don't want contraceptive help. First of all, when women can't use contraceptives, then there's more abortions. So they're at crosshairs. And the other thing is that Planned Parenthood doesn't just supply abortions. That's a small part of what they do.
Right.
A very small part.
It's women's health issues that are at stake. It's not just childbirth. It's all kinds of things that help women who can't otherwise afford to get good medical care. And it's unconscionable. And I don't know if some of these people even understand what they're doing.
I don't think they do. And I'll share it. But first I have Merle and then Blair.
Just as far as what the president has been doing that's so outrageous, he said during his campaign he could shoot someone in Times Square and still be elected. So nothing is surprising. And as far as abortion, I went to college with someone named Daniel Syme who became a rabbi, and he wrote an article in the 80s about abortion. And he said in the Jewish religion and Reform Judaism, if a woman has an abortion, it's done by the 42nd day before there's a heartbeat. And you wouldn't call it exactly life. It's a cluster of cells. It's not a baby yet. And so there are many justifications for if a woman needs an abortion, it's not exactly a human life yet. So no one thinks of the logical end of this.
No. Blair.
I agree with what Susan was saying, that Trump is actually brilliant in his ways to manipulate people into going beyond just a single issue and making it multiple issues as to why they chose to support him and continue on. To be able to take your communication and narrow it down to the least common denominator so that you're not insulting those individuals is very, very complex and involves both vocal communication as well as nonverbals. And he did it brilliantly.
Yeah.
So someone who we're bringing on Sunday morning, I think it's in March, is a friend of Blair's. What's Harry's last name?
Nathan Gottlieb.
Nathan. Right.
Harry Nathan Gottlieb.
Right. He has a project of uniting America. And I don't think I've shared the story with you, Blair, yet, but I went on it and I volunteered because I thought if he's coming on Sunday morning,
Good, great,
I should see what this is about.
right.
And
Right.
they match you up with someone who has different political viewpoints.
I get it.
So, and so I sign up for it. Then I get the email and then I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like, what if it's, and then they're like, it's tomorrow. It's give me, sign. Okay. I go on. It's this young woman who's at the Annapolis Academy, the Naval Academy in Annapolis. Now, I happen to have visited there. You have to have two congressmen. You have to have one congressman write your recommendation. It is hard to get in there.
Yes.
And the physical part of it is, I said, wow, you must be a good swimmer. I knew all about it. So they give you questions and it takes about an hour and you talk about, I don't know if he changes it up, but you talked about fact versus fiction and science. And we were both answering the same to everything. And they asked questions about healthcare and questions about immigration.
Right.
And so and I knew through the whole thing, because this is a young kid, I'm, an adult. Not that she wasn't an adult, but I knew she must have voted for Trump because why else would they have matched us up? At the end, it says you can say who you voted for. And she said, yes, I voted for Trump. And, I think I revealed first. I said, I'm a Democrat. I'm a lifelong Democrat. I'm proud of everything I believe in. And she said, yeah, I voted for Trump. My mom voted for Trump, and that's why. And she goes, after doing this, I realized I need to find out more of the facts. I said, yes, you need to find out. You need to vote, you need to see what you're voting for.
Right.
And that was, just a glimmer into maybe what's happening, all over the United States. And when Harry comes, I'm sure he'll share with us. And the questions they had, it wasn't like, do you like Obamacare or, the affordable, it was very, it took you into it. Should everyone have health care? And it was, the questions were masterful, absolutely masterful. And it's an experience I'll never forget. And of course, I'll never forget it because for me, it had a happy ending. I could have been with someone who said, you're crazy and don't tell me that. Blair, go ahead.
But the whole purpose of it is to show that there are common values and common goals. And that, if you get beyond the rhetoric into the real issues and working together to solve those real issues, that's what America is all about. And it takes you, it says, not how they're worded is actually brilliant. And it provides you with a range. I strongly believe this. I strongly disagree this. And you find out that you do have common core values. And so if you can come together rather than making it a competitive kind of a situation, hopefully we could all work together. It's
but just, the part about, do you believe in facts? And
right.
Of course, I knew where it was going. I don't know that she did. But I was thinking, we've gotten to the point where we have to say, do you believe in facts?
But I think that we probably always should have been at the point. And we should, and because the word fact, means different things to different people. And, we've made assumptions all the way along. We've made assumptions about who is participating in this group or who's participating in other groups, and who our neighbors are. And if you really look at it through this lens that Harry has created, you find that, wow, or I go to a current events group at the Northbrook Library, and there's 60 to 70 people. And assumed when I first started going that everybody was pretty much like me. They were educated. They had progressive, open-minded views on issues, only to find that that was completely erroneous. Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Paula, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to expand a little bit about what Merle said. As Jewish women, I think we probably are more in agreement than not that the potential of life occurs after conception, after some time.
Right.
And, you know, is it life? That can be defined in many different ways. Personally, I think that's the potential for life. And so thinking about terminating a pregnancy doesn't have the same impact on me as somebody who comes from a faith that believes life occurs at conception. I don't expect those people to have abortions. I expect them to understand that for others, it may be appropriate. And that's where I would like to see people like Blair just spoke of coming into agreement that yes, we may have different things, but some things we can agree on and some things we just have to disagree on.
Yeah. Peggy, and then I'm going to read Evie's comment in the comments.
One of the things that I found, you know, there's these protests, and you find this, I mean, even to the point that they, for 1 hour, they shut down where they were giving vaccines in the city because they were anti-vaccine. It's like, don't get a vaccine. Why must you stop other people? It's the same feeling as my beliefs are better than yours, so I'm going to stop whatever you're doing. And there's no sense to it. So, you know, with the abortion thing, and it's just, you know, people need to look, like you said, Vanessa, look at other people's perspectives and maybe come, you know, but unfortunately, there are a lot of people, they're not listening.
Yeah. Blair, go ahead.
Well, I think we all ought to be teaching that in America, there's choice. And within that framework of choice, there's an opportunity for everybody to practice their beliefs. So if you choose abortion, that's fine, but you should also have the choice to terminate the pregnancy. And if we keep that in mind, you know, then maybe.
Susan.
The other thing, I think, you know, we've been with the rabbi's class on Mondays, we've been reading the Jonathan Sachs book. And from a Jewish point of view and from what he writes about, and here's, you know, well, he was, you know, Alav Shalom, this very orthodox rabbi. But he also says, we all have a freedom of choice, and that that even though as Jews, we believe our way, it doesn't mean ours is the only way. Right. And it's not the only way to worship God or to believe. And that you have to have respect for other people's beliefs. And in feeling that way, we have to insist that they have respect for our beliefs as well. And it just kind of reminds me, I had a very, a Catholic, I would say, at one point she was a friend, but it was because she was the wife of my husband's business associate. And we traveled a lot together on business trips with our husbands. So when the men were working, we spent a lot of time together, and she's a very devoted Catholic. And one of the things she was talking about, first of all, she was just like having fits about gay marriage. And I remember saying to her, why do you care what someone else does as long as they're not hurting you? You know, why do you care? Let them live and be happy. And then she started on the abortion issue. And I said, you know, Louise, you don't want to have an abortion? Don't have one. Right. You don't want your daughter to have one? Don't let her. But don't tell me what I can do or what my daughters can do. It's none of your business. She absolutely could not accept any of that.
Yeah, and that's a problem. Okay, Marcia Rosenbaum, then Merle.
Okay, I just wanted to say that Yeah, that a lot of times people feel that freedom of religion is imposing it on somebody else. And that's why I have the right to discriminate against gay people and whatever. But I attended once or twice a senior group in Northfield, and I don't remember what it was called, but it was right before marriage equality law, and they were up in a lot of the attendees. They were up in arms about, and they were afraid of it. And they were standing up and saying, "But marriage between a man and a woman is the law." And finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. I mean, there were like 100 people there, but I stood up and I said, "Well, it used to be that." People could be property, and that was the law. But when the law is wrong, you change it.
Yes.
So, and there was like dead silence.
I'm sure.
So,
Yeah, I say a hush fell over the crowd. Yeah. Meryl, go ahead.
When I was in high school, I took a history class, and the teacher wanted us to learn about imperialism and why countries like England and Spain kept wanting to add more to their territory. And we were given positions to argue. And I was given the position of pro-imperialism, which I was completely against. And I kind of burst out laughing in the middle and had to kind of get myself back together again. But I had to argue pro-imperialism. But by the time I was done doing this, I understood about why they wanted imperialism. So when we talk to people who are pro-Trump, if we could talk to them, it would be nice. But most of the time we really can't, because mostly they just say they want to protect their stock portfolio. And that was why they voted for him. And you don't want to lose a friend, and people just stop talking.
Yeah.
And that's why we can't get past this thing. We need to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Abby said that this is a reminder for so many of our issues that we are an automatic pilot. She was just at a webcast from J Street with evangelicals in Israel, and I realized I need to relearn facts. Do you want to unmute, Abby, and talk about it? I mean, I think I know what you're talking about, but.
Yeah, it was a Palestinian, I want to say Arab, but he lives in the United States, very, very well spoken. And unfortunately, I didn't realize it was on Eastern time, so I got in a few minutes late, as well as an evangelical minister. And I'm hoping to go back, it's being recorded, to listen to the recording. But I realized that I can't really have a strong opinion, I can't be objective because I don't know their facts, and I just know my slant of history. And I'm realizing more and more how slanted maybe my background or my perspective is, and have not really branched out. And I'm trying to do that a little bit more, but without going the other way. And I can be very much of a chameleon, unfortunately. So I'm just trying to listen more as opposed to kind of rattling off on opinions by osmosis that I have always ingested and not necessarily thought for myself.
The whole Israel question is very heated, and it is not an easy one, especially at a synagogue. And my personal children went to Solomon Schechter Day School and Jewish camp. And when they got to college, it started with my oldest. She goes, "You lied to me and you didn't tell me the whole story." And I'm like, "Oh, we watch, television. You can read the newspaper. I'm not gonna hand feed all of this to you." But now we see when you teach Jewish education, when you teach Israel, and certainly when I personally teach it, and I'm not exactly sure what happens in our school, but there's many narratives. There's not just one narrative. This is, what happened in Israel with the Israelis, and that there's a Palestinian narrative, there's an Arab narrative, there's a Sephardic narrative. There's so many different types of people, and everyone has a story. And I like, Evie, what you said, that you have to listen. You have to listen. And, at camp, we do a lot of teaching about Israel, and we try to teach different narratives. And one, somebody who was from, she taught at HUC. I think she's teaching in LA. And she said this, that when she did a study, and she started with kids in kindergarten and followed them 3rd grade, 6th grade, 9th grade. And she asked them different questions about Israelis and Palestinians and what's happening in Israel. And she said that you can teach kids that Israel is our homeland, but sometimes there are bombings there. And I think it's not unlike, and this is the first time I've thought about it, that our friends with on the South Side with Black children, they teach their kids about interacting with the police, I think, differently than we do. And you have to name the other, especially when you're talking about Arabs, because when you don't talk about what's happening there, in kids, in their minds, it becomes, worse, or they don't know what it is. And so I think that it's incumbent upon us as Jewish educators, when we teach about Israel, to teach different narratives. And I feel really strongly about it. And I think that if we don't, we risk, the alienization of this, that next generation. And I've been on different Israel education trips, and, the people my age are like, oh, Israel, and we're in love. And, the younger generation said they're occupiers, and they don't have that. And I realize it, for me, it's a romance. It's definitely a romance. Okay. Did somebody have their hand up? Oh, yes, Ayelet Sabari. I'm just started that book. I heard her speak, and she's got quite a story.
Oh,
You have to unmute. That's a great book.
I heard her speak too at the Standard Club, and she was a wonderful speaker. And what I got out of it is that as a Yemenite Jewish woman, she was not comfortable in Israel for a long time and had to leave and travel the world. And finally, she did come back to Israel. She found she found her niche in Israel eventually. But
except that she lives in Canada and her husband's not Jewish.
She moved around a lot, but eventually she did feel comfortable going back.
Yeah.
But it was a wonderful story, because we think of Israel as a place where all Jews can go. It's our homeland, we can all go there. But she said it's not really true. She didn't feel that it was until after many years of soul searching.
Yeah. 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 It's quite a story. And okay, Joyce had to leave. Okay. And I thought that I would end the hour with the National Jewish Book Awards, which came out, and this is from last year. And right up there, Morality by Jonathan Sachs. And of course, Rabbi Ike and Rabbi Evan have a class on Mondays. The Art of the Jewish Family. I haven't read any. The Lost Shtetl by Max Gross is supposed to be, I'll just point out the ones that I've heard the talk about. Florence Adler, Swims Forever, I really enjoyed. It's set in early 1920s in New York and follows a Jewish family. And for me, it's hard to find books that aren't Holocaust books. We have, I have a book group here, and I could do a Holocaust book every month. Hebrew Infusion is one that I have to start looking at. That's for teaching. And here's The Unanswered Letter. That's the Holocaust Award. That's supposed to be very good. and now we're back at the top. And here's some recent selections. Oh, How to Fight Anti-Semitism by Barry Weiss. That's a good one. So those are just a few of the books. And I think it's important to look at our rich Jewish, our rich Jewish arts, movies and so on. Paula.
I was just wondering, do you know where Barry Weiss is working now since she resigned her post?
I don't. I do not. I mean, I could do a quick Google and see, but
Just curious if you knew.
yeah, I know I've heard her speak,
Yeah, she's
and it's
great.
kind of interesting. It doesn't say. And she's only 36.
So young.
Yeah. She's young. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where she ended up, and I hope, somewhere good. And then the other thing that I get so much, the Jewish Telegraph Agency, Kveller, but the JTA was, the Golden Globes and the Jewish nominees. And there's a lot of movies that I hadn't heard of. Mank, which is about Citizen Kane, which I think it's not, I think some of the, yeah. What? Did you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have liked it.
Slow.
Slow,
Yeah,
but I liked it.
Yeah,
It was good.
it looks really slow. And of course, Unorthodox, we talked about that last year, and that, there'll be a second season of that. And the other one was The Hunters, which I watched some of, but with Al Pacino and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and it was about a Jewish Nazi hunter. So
Right.
yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to see what the other. Oh, and the Borat movie, which of course is filthy, dirty. But he speaks Hebrew, and it's like Hebrew school Hebrew, so I could understand all of it. But you have to have a strong stomach. I'm warning you, don't go into that. Joyce left, but I would tell Joyce Lyon, don't watch it. Do not.
The younger generation just loves it.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
All that Borat stuff. I know I watched it with my kids and grandchildren, and
Right.
they all loved it, not me.
But the one that if you haven't seen, that everyone here should watch is The Trial of the Chicago 7.
Yes.
And it was, I forget, I think it was on Netflix, but it's starring Sacha Baron Cohen, but it's about, what happened in '68. Now, I think some of you were a scotch older. I was only 9. But it happened right here in Chicago. And I'm sure they took some, liberties with it, but I really recommend it.
Well, Vanessa, I'm old enough to remember it, and I was already a mother at that time.
Yeah.
I got married that weekend. How about that?
You're kidding.
No, my brother-in-law drove us through Lincoln Park and thought that was a shortcut. That was real interesting.
Those are great stories. Those are great stories. Did anyone see Sophie Loren's Holocaust film, The Life Ahead?
Yes.
Oh my God, Peggy, you were very well watched. Did you like it?
Yes, very much.
All right.
She isn't Sophia Loren anymore, though.
Yeah. Susan, what were you going to say?
No, I watched it also.
Ann?
I don't know. I think I was neutral.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm always talking with my parent, what'd you watch? Because nobody's going out. So this is not Jewish, but our movie we watched this weekend was The Dig. And it's about an archaeological find in England.
We watched it Friday night.
Didn't you
Yeah.
like it?
I liked it a lot. Julian reads more reviews than I do. I don't pay attention to reviews, and it said melancholy. Well, I like melancholy. All three of us really liked it a lot.
Yeah. We also liked it a lot.
Well,
And
maybe we'll watch that tonight.
yeah, I mean, the happenstance is on Sunday morning, we had somebody talking about archaeology and I was like, oh my gosh. Paula, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask what network was that on, The Dig?
I'm
Netflix.
pretty, I think
It was
Netflix.
on Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's with Carrie Mulligan and Ralph Fiennes.
Fine, fine.
Oh, the good
Yeah.
cast.
He's aged, but it's a great movie. All right, it's 3:00. It's so good seeing all of you. Do you have
Thank
any
you all.
topic?
Thank you.
Send them
I'll
to
put my
me.
hat on.
Oh, yes, right, look.
I made a hat in case the aliens from outer space. Yeah,
Very good.
it has an antenna, see, so I'm protected.
You're protected. Bye.
Bye, everybody. My son just arrived, so I'm going to
Okay,
leave.
it's so
Thank
good
you
to
all.
see everyone.
Okay.
Bye, bye, bye,
Thank,
bye.
thank you for the, thank you. I'm gonna watch the
Bye.
dig tonight.
Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
thank
Bye,
you.
bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.